Nosferatu was a good movie. God, how did Bill Skarsgård do that voice? Fellow film fans, what up? It's your boy Tay Talks Talkies and Let's Talk Film. Nosferatu came out December 25th, Christmas Day, and I finally got to see it the other day, and I want to talk about it. Robert Eggers is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, working directors. The guy is incredible. His attention to detail, his commitment to historical accuracy, it's unlike anything in the industry. He is the absolute standard for movies, and I love the guy. Now, I hold The Witch and The Lighthouse in the highest esteem, especially The Lighthouse. But The Witch and The Lighthouse, to me, are modern masterpieces. They are films that deserve to be pushed through history. In hundreds and hundreds of years, I hope these are movies that are still viewed because they're that great. They're going to stand the test of time. And The Northman as well. The Northman's a great movie, not as good as the other two in my opinion. But The Northman's fantastic. And now Nosferatu. And Nosferatu, I guess because of the expectations I had built, I was a little let down. Only a little bit. It was still a really good movie. Dare I say great. I just expected more. I want to talk about the elephant in the room, the mustache in the room, I should say. The mustache, although it was done for historical accuracy, Robert Eggers talks about how counts from that area, from that era, always had mustaches. And I appreciate, as always, his commitment to historical accuracy. He also talked about how in Bram Stoker's Dracula, the original novel, Dracula had a mustache as well. So it is the most accurate film version of Dracula. But in execution, I don't think it works as well as Robert Eggers was hoping. I think it steals a lot of the intimidation that Nosferatu could have. The 1922 Nosferatu, portrayed by Max Schreck, Count Orlok, it had this uncanny valley, otherworldly aesthetic. And I think the mustache humanizes Orlok too much and makes him a little too human. It's a weird thing because it's kind of grown on me a little more, especially after hearing Eggers talk about why he did it, but it still just didn't sit right with me in theater. I kept looking at the mustache. The mustache occupies roughly 25 to 35% of Orlok's face. And it's just like so healthy and vivacious. It's just so dark, and your eyes are constantly being drawn to it. It's a minor nitpick, however, it does steal a lot of the intimidation that Orlok could have had on screen. But that leads me into talking about Bill Skarsgård. And Bill Skarsgård is absolutely incredible. I hope he gets plenty of recognition for this portrayal of Orlok, because what he did with his voice is absolutely unbelievable. The way he lowered it several octaves and the way that he rolls the end of a lot of what he's saying, it's unlike any voice I've ever heard put to screen. It's incredible. And Bill Skarsgård, his portrayal of Pennywise and now his portrayal of Orlok, the guy is becoming a horror icon. He is really becoming the number one horror guy in all of Hollywood. So yeah, Bill Skarsgård, all the praise in the world for his portrayal of Orlok. It was menacing, and mustache and all, it was really, really intimidating every time he was on screen. It was something, especially in a theater, giant theater with a packed crowd. It reverberated throughout the space in the theater, and it worked so well every time he spoke, and it's pretty awesome. All the actors were fantastic. I felt like the weak link in the actors was Aaron Taylor Johnson. Aaron Taylor Johnson is a great actor. I love him. I think he's awesome in everything he's in. But something about his character in this film, Friedrich, I believe, he didn't really sell it the way that the other actors were selling it. It seemed like he almost felt like he didn't really belong there. He was still good, but the way that Nicholas Hoult was bringing it, and obviously Willem Dafoe always brings it, and of course our leading lady, Lily Rose Depp, was absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. The way they were all bringing it, it just made Aaron Taylor Johnson's performance kind of stand out like a sore thumb. Now let's shift to talk about Lily Rose Depp, because she's kind of an unknown commodity. Besides for being Johnny Depp's daughter, she's only been in a couple movies before this, and most of them are pretty minor roles. So for Robert Eggers to give her this main character in his, what he was hoping, I'm sure, to be his magnum opus, it's pretty incredible, and it paid off because she's fantastic. So Robert Eggers surely has an eye for his actors, as do all great filmmakers, but she was fantastic. It was originally supposed to be Anya Taylor-Joy, who was a frequent collaborator with Eggers, but I think it worked out for the better that Depp was the one that got to play Ellen. And I think her aesthetic, it's very Tim Burton-esque. She looks like she belongs in that gothic era, and she really not only looked the part, but played the part. The way she was contorting her body and the way she was having convulsions, it was fantastic. Her eyes are rolling in the back of her head, and there was one scene in particular where she's drooling and spitting that I was like, yo, can everyone leave the theater, please? Because I need some alone time. Sorry, I was a little perverted, but she was fantastic, and I thought everything was firing on all cylinders. It was just, number one, Orlok's appearance wasn't as menacing as I was hoping. Maybe that's a large reason why I wasn't in love with it the way I was hoping. And number two, I kind of wished he leaned more into the horror of it. There are horrible elements, especially with body horror, the way that they show Orlok's body. But as far as horrifying images, there wasn't really many. There's one image in particular, and this is a spoiler, where he's sucking the blood of two little girls, really little girls, and he just tosses the body of the little girl aside like it's just a bag of meat. And that was what I was looking for with Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. That scene in particular was probably my favorite scene, my favorite standout scene, because it really brought that, whoa, my God, holy shit. It brought that. But for the most part, it didn't really deliver to the extent that I was hoping for a Nosferatu film. But in the grand scheme, I guess these are minor nitpicks. I really liked the adjustments he made with the story. He made Ellen the main character, whereas the original Nosferatu, Ellen became kind of the main character at the end, but he had the brilliant idea of starting with her story so that it really anchors her as the main character, and it's her story throughout. A huge problem I had with the story is none of the characters really had any implication on what was happening narratively. They were all kind of bystanders in the story. Nicholas Holt's Thomas, Willem Dafoe's character, they were all kind of just bystanders in the story. They weren't affecting it. They were kind of just vessels to deliver information. Thomas was a vessel to introduce us to Orlok. Willem Dafoe's character, Vaughn, he's got a crazy Dutch name. His character was kind of just to introduce us to the fact that the occult, things that are otherworldly, are real in this world. And it was Germany's and Western society in general's obsession with science that made them so vulnerable to something like Orlok, because they were like, yeah, sure, devils, demons, sorcery, sure, that's all bullcrap, but that's what Orlok would want, because then he can have his way with these people. And every character was just kind of there and not really affecting the narrative. Ellen was the only one having any effect on the narrative, but even her, she was kind of just having stuff happen to her until the very last moments of the film, where she finally does what she needs to do. But that was my main gripe narratively with the story. Other than that, I thought it was an awesome movie. It's still in theaters. It'll be in theaters for a couple more weeks because it was just released only 2 weeks ago. And I think it's worth seeing in theaters for sure. The imagery was a gorgeous movie. The way that they made it look like moonlight was illuminating everything, it's gorgeous. And it's worth seeing on the big screen. It deserves your money. It deserves your time. Go check out Nosferatu in your local theater. Support your local theater. Keep the theater going experience alive. And stay tuned. Subscribe, like, comment, share. Let me know what you thought of Nosferatu. 2025 is going to be a big year for the channel, so be a part of it. I appreciate you guys. Tay out.